worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it. I won't stop till they hear me now. I won't stop till I wear the crown. Let's go. I'm just telling you to fight for your dreams, but it's not what it seems. Man, it's hard to be seen when everybody wants to be king. Yeah, they all want to ring. Yeah, we all want to be free.
We're here talking Detroit Lions news and rumors for you folks today. I got the Ant-Man with me. Ant-Man, how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thanks, Mike. I hear you guys had a little bit of a solar eclipse over there yesterday. The show was, although I'm told that the people of Chicago didn't notice because they've been in the shadow of Dan Campbell so long they've forgotten what the sun looks like. But apart from that, the rest of y'all had a little eclipse to deal with yesterday.
Yeah, you wouldn't know because they're in the shadow of Dan Campbell and his I don't want to say it. Oh, we're just going to stop right there. It's going to go. It's too early for this to be going off a rail. Yeah, we had the eclipse. It was great. And we got a lot to talk about for today. A lot, too. A lot of rumors coming out. A lot of news coming out thanks to some articles and Adam Schefter. We're going to get into that. But before we do, what's up, James Janella? 9 drinks. Emily Brown in the building. Got to get better, Emily. Rest up. Kurt Kasprick, Dragon Fan, Tim, Lisa DeLorenzo, Danny Painter. Thank you for all coming in here. Let's just get right to it. And we're going to be talking about we'll do the extension first. So Adam Schefter, Ant-Man, came out. He was on Matt Derry's channel yesterday. Really cool. And he said that the extension for Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jared Goff is going to happen sooner rather than later this offseason. Thoughts on it?
I mean, to be expected, really, isn't it? Like, Goff has earned himself a new deal here. There's 1 year left. You kind of want to secure your future at the position. And Amon-Ra is like, he's a cornerstone piece. Like, he's the guy everybody wants to get that done now. But it's draft season. You can understand they're very busy at the moment. So, you know, I'm not too fussed if it's waiting until after the draft's done. But you would expect once those guys are in the building and Brad's freed up, it's all going to get done pretty quickly. But they're deals that need doing. Now, the numbers will be interesting. Amon-Ra, I don't really care. To be honest with Goff, I don't really care either, as long as it's not too long. If it's 2 years added to his current deal, give him 3 years. I'm good with that. With Amon-Ra, pay man what he wants. I don't care. No deals be too bad to get him back.
With Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have nothing to worry about. Like, generally speaking, when you pay players, sometimes I guess you may have to worry. With St. Brown, there is zero worry. The guy is a workaholic. He is motivated. He's young. He's going to earn that money and more. I have no worries at all for giving St. Brown a big bank of cash and what he does for this team at his young age. And same with Jared Goff. Now, it's going to be a little bit different. Now it's just the numbers here with Jared Goff. Do they do it like 45 million, 46, 47? Do they do 50 million, like a 4-year, $200 million contract? What do you think, man?
See, again, I'm not fussed about his numbers. I just don't want it to be for too long. Because when you give a quarterback a long deal with a lot of guaranteed money, that's when it starts to become a bit sticky. If his performances are to nosedive, or he's not to live up to it, or we can't take the next step with him, you don't want to be done in for too many years there at this point. So, like, again, I've said I'd rather, he's got a year left. Tack another 2 years onto that. You got 3 years, pay him well, and then that kind of keeps you still a little bit flexible. You're definitely going to use him this year. You only got a couple of years to hit if it doesn't work. But money-wise, I don't really care. He's earned a good deal. If it's 45, 50 million, fine. But again, if you're doing it over a shorter time span, it's easier in the long run to stomach. So I just don't want the deal to be too long and too expensive, if you get what I mean. But he's absolutely earned his money. If it's like this 49 million it's rumored to be, fine. Give it him. He's earned it, and hopefully he can take us forward with it.
You know, it's going to be more than Daniel Jones, and Daniel Jones was absolutely booty cheeks. So, and didn't he get 45 million a year? So it's going to be above that.
Possibly, but I also think that Brad will know that there's a limit there. I don't think Brad would unduly put the franchise's future at risk by making it too much for too long. Like I say, there's two ways you can go about it. You can either say to him, well, look, you can have a year or two longer and it's going to be less per year. Or if you do want bigger money, we'll give you a shorter deal where you can have your big money and then kind of prove that you can play up to that level. You can take us even further. So again, for me, it's all about length, not amount.
We got Jonathan Antony saying 3 years, 150 million added to it. Yeah, that'd be a 4-year deal then, because he's got a year left. That or 4 or 5 year deal. Either way, he'd be 34, 35 years old when it's over. He'd have plenty of time of good play. I mean, it's not like he's going to fall off.
I mean, if you like tacked 2 years and 100 million on with the vast majority of it guaranteed, I'm not upset about it. You play him on his year he's on at the minute. He's on what, about 30? He counts about 32 million against the cap this year, something like that. You tack on a couple of expenses. Fine. Again, not going to hit you in the long run, like really far down the line. But don't be 4 years added on to his 1 year currently, and then it'd be 5 years, because then it's the next half decade. And if there's a lot of money involved, that's when you start having cap issues if it doesn't go the way you want it to. So, or if he is going to take a long deal, make sure it's less AAV. Again, just to try and protect yourself, because we're in a predicament at the minute, because we do want to pay him, absolutely, but you've got lots of very expensive draft picks coming up as well, and you can't afford to make that thing too long, put too much money in. That might affect your ability to do other deals down the line and affect rosters down the line. So you've just got to find the right balance here between amount and length. But at the end of the day, like I say, Goff is a good chunk of money, and I have no problem paying it in whatsoever.
Yep, and they're going to get paid, and I think a lot of people would agree that they should get paid. It's just now a difference of what type of money that they're going to get. And I agree with you. Brad Holmes is not going to destroy the franchise. He's not an idiot. So he's not stupid. So whatever money he gets, it's going to be probably just perfect, if you ask me. I mean, they know exactly what they're doing in the front office. I don't need to worry at all. Now, a rumor came out over the weekend, and it was on multiple pages. I even did a video on it. This rumor that came out, man, that Taylor Decker could be traded. First off, what do you think about this rumor? And, give me your thoughts on it completely.
So, bearing in mind my position, I've always been one of the ones who's been a bit more critical about Taylor, especially when he got his new deal, etc. and that. And I think about this, I think it would be absolutely foolhardy to get rid of him. And this is from somebody who is always a little bit more critical when it comes to this. You don't trade away your franchise left tackles. And he is, not like a top 3-4 guy, but franchise left tackles. Exactly. Like, they do not grow on trees. It is very hard to develop one. We've seen the NFL at the minute, like, offensive line play, some of the worst it's ever been, especially at the tackle position. You can't just get rid of your guy. And he represents more than just being the left tackle. He is one of those guys who is the epitome of the locker room. He stayed loyal to the franchise through the Quinn Trisha years, when he probably could have gone somewhere else, got himself a bag. He's gone through the rough with this team. You don't then discard him out the building when you're on the up. Yes, you're in the last year of his contract, but you know what? At the very worst, you see that year out, and you may be letting you then say, look, we want you back, but if you want to go and test free agency next year, fine. But you keep him here this year because he's pivotal to what this team is about. We have a starting 5. It is so very rare in this league. You get like a starting 5, which you'll be like, yeah, I'm set with that. That's fine. We've got a draft this year where we can draft the guys of the future whenever it'll be. And we've got a year to develop them, hopefully not have to use them very much. And then we have this discussion next year. But I mean, like, what are you going to trade him for this year? He's on a decent deal. He's got 1 year left. I don't exactly think you're going to get a great deal for him. Like, he benefits this team a lot more staying here than going. Like, the idea of getting rid of him is ludicrous, and I would question anyone who has put a report out saying otherwise. It's just not the MO of this team.
Doesn't make sense for something like this to happen this year. The offensive line is really good for this football team. It's the staple of this whole team. Literally, that's how this offense works, is because we have such a great offensive line. We already lost Jonah Jackson. Okay, and to lose Taylor Decker when you're already, this is your strength. He's a veteran on the team. I think he's a captain. If not, he definitely is a big leader in the room, and he's good at what he does. Why would you want to disrupt that right now after just making an NFC championship game where you just got a Zeitler in here, a new guy? Halpluti Vati is not going to be here. That's a lot of movement, I think, a little bit too early for this year, because we got to think about Frank Ragnow may not be back next year. So
Zeitler's 1 year. He'll be gone next year.
Zeitler's a
He's not
one-year
staying more
deal.
than a year.
It just, look, I feel like if they took a left tackle, that's perfectly fine. I don't think they would trade Decker, though, even if they took a tackle. It just doesn't make sense.
I'm a proponent of getting a left tackle in the draft this year. At least your future. Like, you get a day 3 guy and you sit him and you develop. This is the perfect time to do it. We are in a wonderful situation where we have got an offensive line for the now, and we can prepare our offensive line of the future to meet these future challenges. Like, if he has a great year and plays like a top 5 left tackle and has a stunning year and we can't afford to pay him next year, fine. We got the next guy up and ready to go. If he doesn't have a good year this year, fine. We got the next guy ready to go. We're in a great situation where we can do it. But I think people, and for us, it's actually been some time now since we've had to really bed a new tackle into this team. People have been spoiled by Penei Sewell. Penei Sewell was a generational talent. A generational talent. You don't get them very often. Not everybody adapts to the NFL like Penei Sewell did. He was a bona fide stud starter day 1, has not looked back. You are not going to get that again. If you get another tackle, especially if it's this year where we're picking, you are going to get a guy who is raw. You are going to get a guy who's going to take time to develop. It's going to disrupt your whole system.
Yeah.
And we have a very specialized system. We can't afford to have a rookie ballsing up, run blocking assignments, getting rinsed in the past. We just can't afford that this year. Like, we're in our window now. And again, just taking all this out of the equation, you're talking about the locker room here. You're talking about one of the hearts of the locker room. You're talking about someone who genuinely loves the city, the place, who has been through a lot and is emotionally invested in it. You've got to keep as many of those players on your roster as again. Who cares what he's earning this year? Left tackles are valuable. You've got to pay them
very
good money.
Valuable.
So, as I say, at worst, you ride this year out because he's getting paid very good money. He's not going to quibble over that. You see what happens. You get to next year, and then you make a decision on it. But for this year, he's got to be there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. He's got to be there on that team opening day for as much of the season as is physically possible, because he is absolutely critical to who and what we are. So outside of that, you don't get rid of him. Unless someone stupid comes up and says, I'll give you a top 10 pick in the draft for him, then maybe you think about it, because maybe the quality of guy you can get is higher. But like, I wouldn't even consider that really for me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for this year at all. It makes almost zero sense. It does. It would be a head scratching move for sure, because you're taking one of the most prominent positions on a team besides quarterback. It's left tackle, generally speaking. And then you would be getting rid of your leader. You'd move Penei to left. I think that's fine. But then you disrupt your whole offensive line, and you're gonna rely on a rookie then to be on the right side. I just don't think that'd be a smart move at all. I think if they wanted to get a left tackle, if they're thinking about moving on from Taylor Decker, you draft a left tackle this year and you keep Decker on this year, and he develops into a tackle, and he can learn some guard, and you're not putting Jared Goff in any sort of harm, because it's a rookie and rookies make mistakes, and we're trying to get to a Super Bowl. And the last thing that you want is having a rookie protecting your quarterback who just took you to the NFC Championship game. Taylor Decker is a good left tackle, man, and he's not the greatest left tackle. He's not the worst left tackle. You can definitely get worse. Folks, our offensive line was so good last year. I think we were getting a little bit like kind of take advantage of it. Let's not throw this away. Like, it's difficult to get to the spot.
And you're wasting a draft pick. Like, if you trade him, you're wasting a draft pick replacing him. Instead of having Taylor and the guy of the future, he's out the window and you've got someone new. You're doing the Quinn Trisha special. You're replacing your talent. You're not adding to it. And that doesn't make a good team when you're just replacing what's already here. You've got to have a team with depth and it's... And he's like, yeah, he's worth the money you pay him. Like, come on. People have forgotten about our offensive lines of old. They've forgotten about the Stafford, outside of, rare guys, on our line like Dominic Raiola and guys like, we had such bad play for years. And it hamstrung staff. It's like, don't throw these guys away. They're good. Keep them. Decker's only going to be 31 at the end of his deal. He's got another full contract in him. Screw trading him. Give him a new deal. Extend him. Stay with him and Sewell. And then keep investing your draft picks elsewhere and keep getting stronger. That is what great teams do. You keep doing that, especially because we're going to have a lot of movement on the interior next year. We've got to keep stable. Otherwise, we're just going to have to blow the whole thing up and we're going to have to start again. And it could just throw everything into disarray.
Yeah, I don't believe them. I don't believe it. I haven't personally heard anything my way, and it just it does not sound like Dan Campbell, Brad Holmes move at all.
No.
But I can see them take a left tackle if they're sitting at 29. And so we're going to move on for that and talk about that. They absolutely could take a tackle at 29. And I don't think it'd be a bad move if they did that, because you want to make sure that this offensive line is the strength of this football team. When you have a great offensive line, you don't need to worry. And what if you do, like Taylor Decker or Penei Sewell gets injured this year, or you lose a guard for a while like we have been? So I think that is an option. I'm not saying that's the move I want to do, like seriously want to do. I want to get defense, but it's an option to get a tackle.
It'll be best player. Like with Brad, it's not position-based. It's best player, regardless of where they play. So he can pick safety. He can pick linebacker. Like, whatever he thinks is best for that position, he will do. Now, I agree. I think you'll get someone in the first 2 days, absolutely. Because in an ideal world, what you would do is you would have Zeitler out of the team by the end of the year. You would get his replacement in and be in a place to bet him out by the end of the year, so you don't lose him, you don't miss him, because he's only going to be here 1 year. He's a stopgap. Here to help us win now, but you get someone high enough, you train them, they're ready by the end of the season, swap them, and done. That's really all you want to do this year. Outside of that, it's development guys. Development guys only.
Yeah.
Have them ready for in 12 months' time when we could face some issues. But right now, don't mess with it. Very easy.
These thoughts are exhausting. Well, if these thoughts are exhausting, you better tell the people who keep spreading this, and then we have to talk about it and pretty much throw it down, because a lot of false rumors get put out there, and so then we have to talk about it and kind of give the real thoughts of why it doesn't really make any sense. So when these rumors come out, we're going to talk about it. Why? Because it's put out there. So we're not just going to sit there and be silent and be like, oh, I'm not going to say anything.
So the NFL is
not how it works.
It's never a zero chance. The NFL is a business. There is always an offer that's too good to turn down. I will just say it that way. If there is a contender who's shy of left tackle, who's like, screw it, we are going to throw above average resources at trying to get them. There's, it's probably like 10%. That is where you're at, but not to the point where people should be writing about it and going, yeah, it's going to happen. There's very little, but it's a business and there's always a chance. But yeah, anyone who's a Lions fan knows this is garbage, but we just have to tell people who don't.
Jonathan keeps asking, would you lean into taking Barton at 29, man?
Not personally, no. I don't mean it. That doesn't mean he's not a great player. This is just my own personal thing. And of course, as I always say, I don't know 0.1% of the stuff Brad does. I'm just a weird talking head. I just personally wouldn't do it. I think for me, I'd be going up for defensive talent because I'd want to finish my defense off.
I do too.
Again, this is going to be an offensive heavy draft right at the very top. It's going to push people right down into our grasp or into trade up portal territory. And for me, we need 2 or 3 more key pieces on defense. Really, another edge, another corner, maybe another linebacker, who knows? And then you've got the nucleus of what could be a great unit this year if they hit the ground running. So I would rather personally do that. But he's a good player. But yeah, just me personally, I wouldn't.
I'm with you. I'm wanting to finish this defense up. I am tired of having a defense that is lackluster. I am ready to finish it off. Would I be upset if they go offense? No, because I trust Brad Holmes fully. 110%. Absolutely trust him. But I still Want to go defense? I'm tired of doing game day. I do these play-by-plays every single game day, and I'm saying the same thing defensively that I say the year before. I'm tired of it. I want to see a really, really good defense. Chop Robinson at 29. I personally go in a different direction. I got more of a second round grade on him. But he is a legit option there at 29. If you see mock drafts and mock draft roundup, a lot of people believe that could be an option for them. We just got to see. We just got to see how this draft plays out. That's what sucks about being at 29. It's you don't really know who's going to be there. It's not like in a top 10 where we're used to. It's like, okay, you have a really good idea who could potentially be there, right? Decker is going to stay. They'll pick up and draft a right guard following the season. We'll trade Decker. I would like to see that happen maybe in 2 seasons.
We can't. He's only got a year left on his deal, so you can't trade him. Like, he's a free agent next year. He'll go into free agency, but I'd rather that than trade him now.
Finishing the defense up, we need to get an edge. I think a really good edge. Marcus Davenport, I do not trust him to be opposite of Aiden Hutchinson for 17 games. I'm going to keep it real. I'd like to get another interior defensive tackle. I love DJ Reader, maybe the more pass rushing type. I'd like to get a young cornerback who can actually be good for the long haul of this football team, and then a safety. That doesn't mean necessarily that they have to get all in the draft, but that's what I look at this defense. That's what I think it needs. That's what I think it really needs. It needs some more pressure and better secondary. Lions, you see the Lions drafting a linebacker in the later rounds? They could do it in the later rounds. Maybe it's a pass rushing type or a special teamer. Remember, Anthony Pittman is no longer here. What do you think? Do they think they can take a linebacker in the later rounds?
I think it's certainly possible. Like, when you get to day 3, I think, I don't do positional value anyhow, but I think positional value really becomes irrelevant on day 3, even for people who do care about it, because at that point, you're just trying to find good players, like who might be able to. Are there any sort of there this year? I mean, off the top of my head, I don't think there's any I'm really infatuated about on day 3. But I'm
day
not
3
really
don't matter, man.
I'm not really infatuated about.
BPA.
I think a linebacker would be higher up than some people might think, though, because you are, still undecided about. I mean, I'm Malcolm's biggest fan, but it remains to be seen whether they trust him to really have a starting role in this team. Barnes is coming into his last year. Anzalone's deal, he's got 2 years left, but after next year's the time you can think about realistically cutting him if you think he costs too much, etc. So there's not really a lot of long-term stability at the position. And plus, you're kind of running low on special teamers guys there as well. So I think there's a very good chance you could see a special teams type come in, certainly on day 3 or through priority free agency to replenish it. But if there's a really good linebacker who falls or something, like if Junior Colson's still sat there at 73 or whatever, like, I love him, given the amount of, his coverage skills would be amazing. So, like, I'd pull the trigger on that on round 2 or 3. So, who knows?
When it comes to day 3, for me, it's just best player available. Like, I don't really care what position, because you're just looking to upgrade at this point and maybe find a developmental guy. Whatever position you think, like, if you could find a diamond out the rough, that's exactly kind of what you're looking for there. And nothing too insane. And my screen just went blank. Now it's back up. That was weird. Do you expect the new kickoff rule to impact the late round picks? That's interesting. I'm gonna say no for the Lions. Will other teams do it? I don't know. But that's gonna be. This new rule is gonna be interesting how they attack.
I think it'll impact your earlier picks, to be fair, because when you look at some of because now there's less danger of a guy getting absolutely pile drive, catching the ball, trying to return it. Now it's technically safer for them. Those guys, especially at the top of the draft, who have the return ability as well. And I think, like Cooper DeJean, Kool-Aid McKinstry has been a really, like, we love Kool-Aid here. Like, his value will go up. These guys' value will go up because you can use them legitimately as a returner. Like, you don't have to not use them because you're spending a round 1 pick and you're scared about losing them. If it does reduce the chances of injury, like, these guys are going to become more valuable at the top of the draft as well. So I don't know if it impacts day 3. So obviously special teams is a big thing, but you're looking for guys who have potential upside to crack into a team eventually. I think it'll affect the top a bit more. I think some of these returners will get added value at the top because you'll be able to use them as such as well.
I have been seeing a lot of Bates possibly being a Lion, but nothing yet to be a solid thing. You have thoughts? He's still in the UFL, so we'll see when their season's over if they sign a Jake Bates, the kicker from the Michigan Panthers, who knocked a 64-yarder, a 62-yarder, and I think a 52 or 53-yarder. So he's still on the team. So the Lions can sign him when the season's over, or they could just draft a kicker. What do you think about Mr. Bates there?
I just say let him have his full season first, because we know with kickers it's very volatile. Like one day they're the flavor of the week, the next they're stinking up the town. Now he's done really well, but for me, I'm just going to sit and let him run his entire season first before I think about this. So, like, kid's talented, but at the same time, there's a difference between kicking in the UFL, especially in a dome like with us, and then coming out doing it in the NFL, in the outdoors, or the stakes are a lot higher, pressure's a lot higher, and that pressure does funny things to a kicker. Like, for a kicker, it's not just about having the skill, it's about having the mentality and the under pressure stuff. We've seen plenty of kickers who can nail it 50, 60 yards who are just no good because they don't have it up here to be able to do it. So, like, you've just got to be careful with this. Just let him have his season. Maybe bring him in for tryouts and then see.
No rush. No, they need to rush to do anything right now. So let him get those extra kicks in. That's what he's doing, right? He's getting more reps. Hashtag Detroit Lions. Anthony, what is the buzz, this is you, for where you're at about the Lions, and who do they think we should get in the first couple of rounds? So he's asking you the buzz in your AO.
I mean, in our pod, God, it's all over the place. They're trading up, they're trading down, they're staying where they are. They got, it's, again, we've not really been in this position for a long time. I know we had the Rams draft, the Rams 32 not so long back, but in terms of our own, this is our first pick. It's been so long since we've been in this position. Like, my own personal buzz is that Brad Holmes is aggressive and he will go and get his guys. And I especially believe that with how close we are with the defense. I think we're, 2 or 3 guys away from being really good. And again, my belief of how this draft is going to, shake out is that offense is going to go high and defense is going to get pushed down, and it's going to come. The board is going to come to us and allow us to be able to go. And it's not actually, trading in the 20s doesn't cost like firsts and second round picks like it does at the top of the third. This is fourths, fifths, futures, stuff like that. It's not as expensive. So, like, we're just in our little bubble here in the UK. So I'm not over where all you guys are with all the bits, but it's all over the place here. Like, nobody knows for sure. Position wise, nobody knows for sure because Brad's, methodology is best player. It's not positional. So it's very hard to know who he likes, and it's very hard to know who the team likes. So, yeah, we can only go on what we personally feel.
How many offensive line do you think the Lions take in this draft? It's going to be 1 or 2. I'm going to say they'll get an interior offensive lineman. I'm thinking a tackle at some point because we have Dan Skipper. That's really our backup right now. Matt Nelson signed somewhere else. Yeehaw. So maybe they go and they get another one. Every time I think about Matt Nelson, I think of The Simpsons. That dude there.
He's gone. Hasn't he gone to the Seahawks or something? We're finally rid of him. So
finally rid of him. Yeah, I never really liked him.
I think 3.
Kind of weird.
I think
3.
They will
Holy
go.
Moly, okay.
I think 3, and I think you'd see definitely one on day 2, and I think you'd see a couple. I think you'd see one at least early day 3, and then late day 3. Because I do think at some point, I don't think he's going to do it early, but if Brad does want a few more picks, I think he'll go back. When he gets to the 2nd and 3rd round picks, I think he'll go back, get a couple more, flesh out the guys there because, we need, like we said, you've got to think of it realistically. Left tackle's coming up for a contract, so we've got to keep that in the back of our mind. Center is having medical issues. We don't know how long he's got left. Guards, they're old. Quite frankly, one's going to be here a year. Glasgow's going to be a couple, but you've got all over this line is long-term worries. So now you can do it. Do it now. get your succession plans in place. I can see them taking more swings than less because really we've only got Sorstal as a younger one. Everyone else a vet cover and stuff like that, which is fine. But I think you're going to see a lot of guys who they'd like try and draft, stash on the practice squad, priority UDFA guys. I think you're going to see quite a few in here as they try and do it. But I think at least 2 will make the roster next year.
This draft will be crucial. Brad Holmes doesn't have capital he's had in the past draft. This could be the draft that puts the team over the top. Yeah, but he doesn't have the same type of capital he's had the last couple of years, but he's done so good in all the rounds that I'm not worried. Like, he finds talent anyways. Like, he's got 7 draft picks. He's going to find probably 3 starters in this draft, and then some like other crucial players that's going to be situational.
And the crucial thing is our roster's a lot better than it's ever been. Like, in those first 2 years, we needed as many picks as we could physically get our hands on because guarantee they're all going to make the roster. This year, you don't want too many draft picks because they're not all going to make the roster. Like, there are not that many holes. If there's less players, like as they've said, this is the year that could push us over the top, and we could push us over the top because we don't need that many pieces really to compete. Safety, I think they'll go veteran. They're throwing a very strong mark. I think after the draft, they'll go after a veteran. So you get a corner and an edge here, maybe another linebacker. Then all of a sudden your defense is looking pretty swell moving into next season, and you just need to flash it out a bit. So we don't need flashy picks. We just need the right picks, and they're right. They'll push us over the edge.
With Brad Holmes' last press conference talking up Hughes as much as he did, do you think that defensive end might not be a big on Brad's list? I don't know.
I think it is a bit overrated because, don't forget we've invested in Pascal as well. Like, Josh has had his growing pains, but injury has played a lot in that as well. He is the big end opposite Aiden. He can play there. We do have Davenport as a 1-year stop. We've got Houston as well. Like, you do want another guy coming into the room this year, but I don't think it's as major a thing as it's because we didn't have Houston all last year. And, like, he's coming off a serious injury, and he is going to contribute to this team. We've seen he can contribute to this team. So there is a need for an edge, but I do agree. I don't think it is. Again, I don't think it does really priority list by position, but it's not as big a deal as some people are making out. As long as we come away with one good guy, I think the room will be just fine to at least get us through another year.
We need look. I understand that Brad Holmes likes Marcus Davenport and all that stuff in the talk. I just don't trust it because of his health concerned, and I want the Lions to get an edge so we do have some multiple pass rushers coming at a quarterback. Does he think it? You may be right. Maybe he doesn't have it as the highest on his list. I don't know. I know for me, I would personally like to get an edge. It's higher on my list. But for him, I don't know. It's impossible to know what he's thinking. He also said last year before the draft that, linebacker wasn't too high a priority on his list. He took Jack Campbell at 18, so doesn't necessarily believe everything he's going to say or what anyone's going to say. JPJ fall to 29. Jackson Powers, it's possibly falls to 29. Him and Cooper Beebe, I do like in the draft for the guards. But what's good about Jackson Powers is he played center as well. That's a nice combination to have. It's a guard that can play center can play guard. That's what he would do. So if he's there at 29, I think he's a realistic option for the Lions. No lie.
He's falling victim. He's falling victim to the draft stuff because when draft season comes around, things have to be exacerbated because everyone's suddenly remembered that I think he was injured in the Senior Bowl, whichever bowl game he was at. He injured his hamstring, and everyone suddenly remembered that and like, oh my God, he's an injury croc, yada, yada, yada.
Fall. Like, don't believe any of that bull.
The story of Jackson Powers Johnson is crazy because, like I say, I do the college pod over here, and generally I hear a lot about players coming into a season and coming into last year. I didn't hear a damn thing about him during the season. I didn't hear a damn thing about him. And you know me, Mike, I'm pretty polished up on my prospects, at least to know about them in the sphere. And then he comes out of nowhere is made into this super prospect who's like Frank Ragnow reincarnated and could go that high, possibly higher than him in the draft. And now
cannot compare him to Frank Ragnow. That's unfair.
And now everybody's attacking him again, and his stock's it's just such a weird thing with him. Like,
they attack him because they want him to fall. The teams that are this is the Lion season. Don't believe anything.
Yeah. This is the thing. He's a really, really good football player. Is he?
Yeah.
I think he's worthy of a top pick. If I were the Bears, I'd take him at 9. Because if you're going to invest in a shiny new quarterback, first thing you need to get him is a center who is, 1, going to control the game and help him, and 2, protect him. Like, I think you could go that high. All this stuff you hear, it's lying. It's lying. It's lying. It's lying. It's the same for players coming up. It's like everybody's talking up Xavier Legetta and scrubs like this who don't deserve to be anywhere near first round conversation, but teams are trying to push the price up and force teams to panic and stuff like that. Watch the tape and you'll see where they're worthy of a place in the draft. So yeah, just this is at the point where there's a lot of Pinocchios around right now, and you've just got to be very careful.
Lies. What's good is what you don't have to worry about, fans, is Brad Holmes is not buying it either. He's not an idiot, okay? He's not stupid. Oh, no. He's not going to believe, so he's not going to make a rash decision. Well, I got to trade up to get this guy because of this rumor was said. That's not going to happen. He is too smart. But yeah, don't believe anything. You're coming, well, this is what I heard. Yeah, but that was probably the team that wants to draft him. So it's Lion season right now. Smash that like button, Anthony. You are the man. You make lots of good points. You too, Mike. Go Lions. Appreciate you. Yeah, he does, man. The Ant-Man knows exactly what he's talking about. Will teams be less willing to trade with the Lions because of their recent success? No, that's not going to be.
No, just to quickly answer that, I would quickly say on the flip side, I think they'd be more open to trading with the Lions because Brad Holmes does fair trades. He doesn't fleece teams. The trades are always beneficial for both teams. Some teams, they're just out and trying to screw you. Whereas with Brad, they always know they'll get a fair deal. So I think more teams will be open to trading with us, to be fair. As long as we don't tell them who we're going for, because then they'll be like, maybe we'll stick with them and get this guy. But I think it'll be fine.
Now that Sutton is gone, who is our number 1 cornerback? Cornerback 1. Will Harris. He's going to be... No.
Oh, God damn it, Mike. That was my answer. Stop stealing my thunder.
Oh, man.
Let's just say it's an open competition.
Oh, but yeah.
I don't think we have one.
Yeah, I don't think we have one either. Because there's all the new guys. So Amik will battle out with Davis, and they'll battle it out to see.
That's it. I can't actually think between them all. Like, all our main guys now are new. We've not seen them play here. And all the others are depth guys who you're never going to call a cornerback 1. So I think that's an impossible question to answer right now. It's very well a rookie potentially could be cornerback 1 come the start of the season.
Would you take Cooper DeJean at 29?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I would too.
And
I don't think he's going to be there. I have him
his pro day.
Yeah.
His pro day numbers have just kind of made that an impossibility now because they were absolutely insanely good. Like, that injury was the only thing potentially slipping him back down. Like, I'd seen some really asinine takes about him falling out the field. He's like, no. And especially, as I say, with these new return rules, because he's the best returner in college football. Like, he is going to offer immense upside to it. Sadly, I do see him ending up in the NFC North. He's going to be with the Cheeseheads in Green Bay because I think they're going to love him as well. But if he's there at 29, you run the ticket, really.
All we can hope is there's another Brian Branch slide. That's all we can hope there. But Cooper DeJean would be a great piece to the Lions for sure. But I think he's gone beforehand. I think seven picks ahead. That's where I got him at. You'd have to trade up and get him, and I don't think that's going to be the case. Well, I mean, they could trade up, but I don't know. It's so hard to tell with this team. I think they will trade, maybe they're going to trade a couple times. Who knows? Come on, we fleeced the Vikings. That's true. We did fleece the Vikings and the Green Bay Packers with Brian Branch.
But you've got to, you sort of like the Hawk trade. Everyone felt wasn't very beneficial back to us, though some might say for what we got. So again, I think, the Vikings got what they wanted out of it. I wouldn't call it a fleece per se. I think it was us combining to screw the Packers. I did like that. That was NFC North unity against the Packers. long may that continue.
Do you think it's possible for Wiggins to drop to 29, or are you taking Kool-Aid? Wiggins would be nice. He's big. I like that size. 6'2".
See, I would take Kool-Aid simply because I'm sick and tired of seeing Lions corners get, I don't want to say that word because I can't on here, get dominated on the line of scrimmage. No, I was going to say something a lot more serious, but I'm fed up of seeing us get beaten on the line of scrimmage. I want wide receivers to hate playing against our secondary because when they're up in press and getting their ass kicked, like, I want them to feel miserable because wide receivers have too easy a time against us. Like, Kool-Aid's probably one of the really better, the better guys when it comes to press and, you know, being able to hit a guy and make him uncomfortable, disrupt him. It's what we need more than anything. I'm sick of seeing our corners get owned.
Can you identify a possible Stephon Walker in this draft? A guy that rises late and comes out of nowhere and go real high. I don't see that. I don't see that. The problem is with compared to Stephon Walker, what is that? There's going to be so many quarterbacks going early. I don't see like somebody like a non-quarterback going between 1 and 3. I think it's quarterback, Marvin Harrison Jr. That's how it could go. Like so I don't.
Yeah, not. So I guess just a Trayvon Walker. Like Trayvon Walker was always high, wasn't he? Did Trayvon Walker rise late? I don't.
He was a little bit rising late. He was, and I was like, why is this guy now being considered? With
I
the
would
first
say
pick?
the big
I kept
one.
saying it didn't make any sense.
So the big one I'd say was rising is Max Melton. Like, and actually, if you're going to do a dark horse candidate for the Lions at 29 with a draft pick none of us are expecting, like Max Melton fits that bill. He's scheme versatile between zone and man. He's a Dan. I said this because I'm doing something about him tomorrow, but he's a Dan Campbell guy because of the way he plays football. He's an Aaron Glenn guy because of the way he plays on defense and how versatile he is. And he's a Lions need. He's a coverage corner, like that we are sorely lacking. I've seen him going upwards of 20 at this point in time. And like, I've got him at 50 or 60 right now. And this is a stacked corner class, but I absolutely adore him. I think he's a great player. So he's the one who's going to rise out of nowhere into the first for me. That's the name that immediately comes to mind.
Penix could go in the first round too, because what if there's a big run on quarterbacks, which we think there's going to be in the round one. Watch him be at the end of round one, so somebody trades up to get that 5th-year option.
So that's CBS, I think CBS's one had 6 quarterbacks in the top 15. They did the other day. They got Knicks and they got. Well, because you get to those sort of teams in the teens where you got like the Broncos and teams like that who are probably not going to be able to trade up because they would have to sell like their great-great-grandchildren's assets to get up that far, given, you know, the quarterbacks on.
It just came out today that the Arizona Cardinals want 3 first-round picks for that 4th pick in the draft.
Yeah. And that's probably what Marvin Harrison Jr. is actually worth or will be in 5 years when they're going to have to pay him $50-odd million a year when the cap goes up and he's stupidly good. So I get that entirely. So you might see, because the trouble is once Penix and Knicks go, like the drop-off's just insane. There's no mid guys. There's no like round 2 or 3 guys to save you this year. You're going right down to day 3 once those 2 are done. So, like, you're going to have to reach for them, especially if it goes 1, 2, 3, 4 quarterbacks, and the Cardinals do trade out to somebody. Everybody else, the Raiders, the Broncos, whoever, like, they've got to make a very tough decision of, like, do we wait this out another year, potentially have another bad year, try next year, or do we have to reach for these guys?
Yeah. Do you, Wolverine, what's up, man? Subscribe to my man's channel right here. Do you think that we trade back? There's a long time between 3 and pick 73, and round 5, pick 164. I think Holmes picks up a 2nd, 4th. It's very possible. My last mock draft, I had us trading back, and I got destroyed by the fan base. They didn't like that because I went to pick 30. I think it was like 34 or something like that.
The one I did on here last week got destroyed. That was a bad one last week, but I know I got wrecked for mine last week. See, like we did our mocks on our channel yesterday, and the one trade I love doing is with the Steelers, and that number 73, you head back to 84, get 119, then you've got a couple of picks in the sweet spot. We don't want 10 or 11 picks this year. Like, I can't stress that highly enough. So I think we just need one mid-tier trade. You take 61 or 73, you trade it back once to get a couple like in the 100 and teens, 120s, etc. I think that's all you need to do, really. If the guys are, because obviously draft happens and all sorts of stuff happens, they're going to have very specific guys, so it's going to be very fluid. They might have to go up, they might have to go down, but realistically, that's all you really need to do. Hopefully, if the board falls your way, is just move one of those second or thirds just back a little bit and just get one to fill in the gap in between that big gap that he mentions there. And then I think you're all right.
You really don't want to have more than 7 draft picks, and people think that's crazy. But if you do, these guys are not going to make the team. That's the problem. The depth is so good now on this team. The roster is really good. You start like drafting like 8 or 9 or 10 players. Some of these guys not making the team.
See, if Bob Quinn's drafting, I want 30 draft picks because I know he's absolutely useless. And the law of averages will say he'll hit on at least 2 or 3 of them. Because I know it's Brad. I know he doesn't need that many. Because I know even with maybe only 7, he's going to hit on at least 4 of them. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. It's very nice.
Man, I can tell you what, man. With Millen, we needed to have 250 draft picks just to get a couple right.
Probably still get them all wrong.
Probably still get them somehow all wrong. It's complete and epic failure.
And everybody's going to remember Matt Millen next week when the new black uniforms come out. Praise be hallelujah. I can't wait.
I think that's what it's going to be too. Because if you look at the draft hat,
I want something nasty. I want these guys to go out. They're going to be in the blacks, have some nice tint of blue on it. Those sick helmets, like they're going to be the best uniform we've ever had, and we are going to win a Super Bowl with them. So
it's hard to maintain a roster, push for a Super Bowl without shortchanging one of those 2 areas in today's NFL.
Best way to do that is to have a rookie quarterback. More money, it's more money available. Yeah. I think it'll get easier because I think like the cap can't go up forever because there's going to be a time when it's just going to get so high. You can afford to pay 7-8 guys mega contracts and still construct a roster. So I think it's going to get easier as time goes on. But like Brad says, it's longevity. Like next year could be banjaxed with an injury to Goff. If we go all in, then we're screwed because we've put it all in on that 1 year. But if we try and instead of having a 90% chance 1 year, you have a 65% chance every year. You kind of take the 65 every year, wouldn't you? Because it's still a pretty decent odds you're going to do it. So you just gotta try and be you gotta try and have longevity with it.
Who will have the best team in the NFL next season? Who do you guys got? This is a great question here. And if you say the Detroit Lions, I'm not gonna get upset or say you're a homer. I actually think they have one of the best rosters in football. But right now, I'm gonna go with, you know what? I would say Ravens, but I feel like they didn't have the greatest offseason so far. Screw it. I'm taking it. I'll say the Lions got the best roster in the NFL. I think they do. I think it's going to be complete after this draft. I'm going to go say the Detroit Lions, man. I think they got a great roster.
See, it's about I don't know if the defense counts enough just yet. I mean, are we talking on paper here?
I'm banking on the draft I'm banking on the draft though with this.
Because
that they're going to get some defensive players. That's what I'm banking on here.
Because I mean, like the Texans. Sorry, they have 9 picks. The Texans have 9 picks in the draft this year, and they've killed the offseason. And I think they've got a tremendous team. I do think they've got a tremendous team. I think post draft they could have one of the best teams going.
No doubt. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think
they did great this offseason as the Houston Texans. You could see a situation that it'd be Lions Texans Super Bowl.
That would be an unreal Super Bowl, I reckon. 2 emerging teams who play exciting brands of football, have some wonderful playmakers, great players. Yeah. Like that could certainly be a dark horse contender for it next year. I do think we have. The thing is, we have the offensive line, and that trumps a lot of other teams. I do think we are one of the better ones, but
that's what kills us. Our offensive line. I think makes the whole offense unstoppable. Because you can't get to Jared Goff. We only had 31 sacks last year. We're running the football like juggernauts, and now we just turn around. We're building this defense, so I'm banking on this defense like being finished.
Yeah. I'm saying us and the Texans have the best rosters.
Yeah,
next year. I know the Ravens is damn good. Like
the Ravens is good. Yep,
but
yep, 100%.
I think the coaching for the Texans, like the Ravens, have hit a ceiling that they can't get past at the minute. Coaching at the Houston Texans looks really good. If they can continue moving forward, they'll soon surpass them.
Which team in the NFC East is going to regress this year? Well, they're already bad, but I think they're going to get worse. I think
can any of them regress?
Disaster.
Can we just say Cowboys for a laugh? Like, because everyone hates
Cowboys.
The Cowboys.
Yeah, we'll just go Cowboys.
In fact, the Cowboys could, because they have not signed anybody.
Nothing.
They have lost. Yeah. It's Dak's last year. It's Dak's last year. Like, they could struggle. I think the Texans could see a massive drop-off next year. If their draft doesn't go to plan, they could be in a whole world of hurt next year. They're only saving graces. They're in a terrible division.
I hope they regress. I can't stand that team.
Like the Cowboys and the Commanders and the Giants, it's going to be hard for them to regress, really. I mean, I guess the Eagles,
but the Giants are just a disaster, man.
They are.
That team sucks.
I think the Eagles and Cowboys have equal chance, because if they don't start well next year, that Sirianni regime will crumble quickly. They have the best of regression because they're up there so high.
Yeah, and I don't think they're going to get to that same that they were at. But man, they're still decent. But the Giants, they could be the Giants are like the Panthers right now, man. They're like who's leading with the first pick in the draft. Those guys are competing for it. Because they're both disasters. If the Brad Holmes goes up in the first for Newton, I think the Lions don't extend Aleem. What do you think? I think they're going to extend Aleem McNeil.
I think it's a nice buffer to have.
Yeah.
But again, this regime is based on drafting and paying your players. You have got to pay your players, because if you keep trading them away, then your draft picks aren't really going to have much of an incentive to come here and give their all, because they know they ain't going to get a bag here. So you've got to pay them wherever you can. And as we've seen with DT, and again, people just assume that he's going to be asking for like money that's been given out like to some of the top tackles. And we know Aleem's not a top DT. Like, he's not an elite DT. He's not like a top 10 DT yet. So he's not there. He's not going to be getting a big bag of money. And Brad Holmes isn't going to give him a big $100 million bag of money. He's not going to do that.
I don't think he's going to do anything like Chris Jones or anything like that. No.
Because
he's not that player, but he's a good player. He's really good. Yeah.
But again, you've got to keep, the more guys you trade away or you let leave, the more you're undermining your overlying message.
Yeah. And then you're just kind of, that's their whole point, is the development. And we developed Aleem the Dream McNeil. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, it soon becomes a slippery slope. Like, how many of these guys do you let go? How many do you keep? But the more guys we're
just not used to keep. And man, we're not used to drafting a guy and then continue to go upward. Usually we draft a guy and they don't get better. But now when we draft players, they develop them and the players are getting good. And that's exactly. This is something that we have not seen. I can't remember the last time we have drafted a player or players, a lot of them, and they develop them. They actually where they get better. So this is something that's new to us. And we got a 1999 super chat. Jack, thank you so much for that super chat, man. Everybody spam Jack in there. Show him some love. And man, you're talking about that, about development.
Oh no, I was just sort of gonna, just say finish with the point that you want to pay these guys while you can, and the great thing about is the cap's going to keep going up, so you're going to have more flexibility to do this. But you also look at our salary cap at the minute. We don't have that many guys on big deals. This is not like we've got 10 guys on $10+ million deals a year already. Decker's one of the highest paid, and he's coming into his last year. Ragnar, who knows what's going on at the moment with him? Like, we don't have many big contracts on our books. So we can afford to put several big contracts on the books and keep doing so. That is the wonderful thing about the position we're in with our cap at the minute. Like, Holmes has made it flexible for the future. We're not the Saints who've got like 9, 10 contracts on massive, dead money, can't afford to get rid of them, over $10 million a year. We're quite good. So just, take advantage of it while you can and spread them correctly.
Jack is a G. We do appreciate you, Jack, for that super chat. Again, $19.99. Thank you so much, brother. Xavier Howard or Stephon Gilmore? I'll take Howard over Gilmore. That's my personal preference. What do you think?
Yeah, Gilmore's getting on, so I prefer Howard. But I would just prefer to draft my corners this year.
Yeah,
the guys we've brought in free agency, I think, get 2 corners in the draft, go with it then. And
call, yeah, 110%. I am with you, brother. I am 100% with you. Fully. That's the way. Free agency is but it's the draft where you're going to get your cornerstones. Okay, this is where they're going to do it, and I trust Brad Holmes' ability to find corners and defensive players. I'm banking on that this draft to finish this defense up and to go out there and to make a Super Bowl run. Legit. I would love Lions, Texans, Super Bowl, or Lions. Get Lions, Miami Dolphins, because on my personal channel, Jalen Waddle's going to be on there. We're going to have Jalen Waddle on, talk to him from the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to talk to him about Tyreek Hill, too, because Tyreek Hill said he would like to play for Jared Goff. That's an interesting take. I would like to talk about that.
Do the Dolphins not have the longest streak without a playoff win now in the league? It's about 2001 since they last won a playoff game. They now hold the record now that we've done it.
Yeah.
It's been like 2 decades since they've won a playoff game. So no wonder the top stars might want out of there. And their cap situation is going to, predicate that they got to get rid of some of these guys. So who knows? As someone put in the comments, we're a destination place now. I think you will see some of these vets in free agency who are hanging on, wait till the draft's done, and then they'll give us a call and they'll be like, is there a spot for me there? And we might be just fine.
Might be just fine. It's the Browns-Lions Super Bowl. That's the
storybook one, isn't it?
That's the storybook, yep. That's the storybook.
That's the storybook one. The 2 terrible franchises coming together and someone's going to do it. That's the one that writes all the narratives. But Lions, Browns, as long as we're in it, don't really care.
For sure.
The Toronto Argonauts on the other side, for all I care, as long as it's a Super Bowl NFL team.
We know for sure that we're going to be going against the referees if we do get to the Super Bowl. It's the Lions versus referees.
Yeah, that's given. That's given.
Don the Goat Burr, what's up? The greatest subscriber of all time. He loves to attack anyone that's not Lions fans. I see it in chat sports all the time. And I love it. I love what he does. It makes me laugh. He attacks Harrison Graham and everybody. Ant-Man, where can they find your channel?
You can find me at Roar of the Lions UK. We're a group of British Detroit Lions podcasters. So if you want to come and hear your Lions news with a British perspective to it, then check us out. You can find us, Roar of the Lions UK. Just type it in. We'll come up. We just did our 100,000th listen this week, audio-wise. So we broke a bit of a barrier. So, again, just shout out to everyone who supported us as well, because it's crazy. We started doing this 4 years ago on a Zoom call, and we got 2 people listening to us a week. Now we've crashed 100,000. We love it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, you do that every week, Mike. These are small chicken numbers compared to you, but for us,
100,000 are big numbers, bro. 100,000 is a big numbers right there. Congratulations, man.
Appreciate it.
You probably never thought it would amount to anything, and then it does. It really does if you keep at it. And so it's awesome to see what you guys are doing over there and just taking your channel to the next level and spreading the pride over the pond. It's really cool, man. Really cool. With that said, folks, make sure you subscribe to Roar Lions UK. Subscribe to here so we get to 10,000. I think we're 20 away. Subscribe. With that said, folks, adios.
I feel nauseous, believe me. Never had a lot of shit come easy. Had to work hard, struggle just to be me. Had to rise up just so they could see me. Did what I had to do just to feed me. And what was left over I put towards my dreaming. But the only thing in life that has meaning are the things you gotta work for, believe me. Taking into your hands a plan. Your own hands can land your own brand. And damn, I feel like no one takes accountability. They want the credibility, convincingly unwilling to put in the hours it takes to get some power. Don't be f***ing sour, take a cold shower, scream until you're louder, work until you're prouder, and f*** all the doubters, they're just young downers. I swear to God they all let me down. I always fought just to wear the crown. I'm f***ed off at these f***ing clowns who were all taught they deserve an ounce. It's only worth it if you work for it. It's only worth it if you work for it.